The following contains adult content. Listener discretion is advised.
Shit, we actually did 31 episodes? I think we had that one lost one, though.
We have the last one, and then we also have the 4th of July special, too.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we technically recorded like 32 or 33, but we recorded more than what actually got published, too.
Yeah, we did.
Hey, bro, let's get into this thing.
It's Damashe and Michael, just talking tech.
All right, so show notes at youronpaid.com/DM32. Definitely got to get we were talking about BES stuff and getting a process in place. Like that's one thing that I was looking at too, is like, and really there isn't a lot for you to actually do because, you know, configuring stuff inside of the website, It just works. Like the only thing you can't do from the back end with the way it's set up right now is like install a plugin or a thing, but you can change stuff, deactivate, activate stuff. The problem I actually was having though, and what I think was causing the biggest issue is this fucking WPM UDEV Smush plugin.
Oh, so you found an alternative to it?
Interesting story. So remember, I think a while back we were talking about plugins, and I think I mentioned WP Offload S3 or something. I forget the exact name of it. From the folks over at Delicious Brains, who make great software, make great plugins. But I didn't want to use theirs because, well, I just didn't want to use it. And I was trying to use B2 actually, so that was the problem too. Like B2 was a pain in the ass.
Well, it's simple, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's sort of a pain in the ass to make it work with WordPress because it's a little weird about its transactions and what it considers a transaction and blah, 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 blah. I don't understand some of it. And I was checking back and forth with the guy that developed the plugin that I'm using now, which is called iLab Media Tools. And the reason I picked it up is because one, it was the only plugin on WordPress that allows you to upload your media directly to B2. But it also does S3, Google Cloud, and all the other names, you know, Wasabi, DigitalOcean Spaces, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I switched over to using iLab Media Tools. I started building this site. And I was using B2, and the guy actually, and I mentioned this to you guys last week during our call that I was going to switch us over to S3. I actually did not do that initially, cause I was like, I don't really kind of have the time cause we was trying to get out there like super quick. And I was like, yeah, this is going to take a little bit of time to configure. So I just, I'll stick with B2 and I'll refactor the site once we got everything live. I'll start redoing everything cause I want to switch servers and some stuff anyway. I'm going to move the site over to DigitalOcean, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
That's sad.
This guy, I was looking at his Git repo and he had, posted a feature change that he was going to make in the future for version 3 of the plugin, which was to remove B2 support. So I reached out to him through GitHub, just made a comment on the issue that he filed and was like, hey, what's the deal? Cause I was using it and like, is it something that's going away completely? What's the time frame? And he was like, well, B2 is a pain in the butt to work with their API. The support requests about things going wrong with it are getting a little ridiculous. And I don't use it. None of my clients use it. Not a ton of people are actually using it. So I'm going to just pull out that portion and make it a little add-on plugin that'll work. And if somebody wants to pick up that add-on and keep adding features to it, cool. But if not, you have to install the add-on. So I was like, okay, I got to switch us over to S3. With this actual plugin, they recommend a service for resizing your images, which is why I was using Smush in the first place, was to kind of compress the images before they got uploaded. And they recommend, this guy recommends a service on the plugin page called Imagix. It's IMAGX.
ImageX.
Yeah, there you go.
Except for without the
Yeah. I don't know what's up with all these weird domains, man.
Don't get started. Everything's AI now.
I know, right?
I just got done recording Seeing AI app for AOTD16, and I realized how much AI stuff there is.
Man, it's because the Namecheap has like a super discount on AI domains right now.
No, don't tell me this. Stop.
I mean, it's not a super discount in the sense that it's like,
but
it's not 99 cents.
It's not 88
No,
cents.
it's $68. Which is still significantly cheaper than anybody else is giving you an AI domain for, though.
You're moving everything over to ImageX?
I'm going to try them out in testing. I don't know if we're going to go live with it. We'll see how it works. Because what they do and what I sort of kind of don't like about it is that it wants to be your CDN for your images, which may or may not be a good thing. So I'm going to test it out and see if it works. If it doesn't, I can just yank it. The media will still be on B2 and I can just rewrite the URL to point to media.my blindemployment.org, so it won't be a big deal. If it doesn't work, it's one of those things I can just turn off and be like, yeah, I don't like what you're doing to my stuff. The other issue I was having too was Cloudflare, man. Like, and Cloudflare is not a bad service. I don't want to, seem like I'm bad mouthing Cloudflare in any way, but their caching was giving me a few fits because I would reload a page and not see stuff that I had just changed, and I would have to go purge the cache because it wasn't dropping stuff fast enough. Now, one reason I was using Cloudflare's caching, because if you actually want to use your own custom domain for B2 buckets, which again, another pain in the ass, if you want to have, like media.blindemployment.org going to point at a B2 bucket, you got to go through Cloudflare. So you got to set up Cloudflare and have it caching that domain and all that sort of stuff, which is cool. But again, it's sort of a pain in the ass.
Because you don't immediately see the changes you're making.
Well, using the caching with Cloudflare, like in order for me to force changes, like I had to go clear the cache or make it dump everything so I could actually see the new updates.
Is technically the intention of
it is, but not when you're in and see, my problem is like my issue really is not so much that was a thing that I had to do, because they do have the capability to put your site in what they call development mode, which means it turns off all the caching and just passes you straight to the site, so you hit the server directly. Only problem with that is we got a live site that's up. So if I turn off caching, I don't know if I do that, I don't know if there's going to break something on that end too.
Live and learn.
Yeah, man. So so outside of moving over to S3, because, I know how it works, and there's ton of plugins that support uploading to S3. I'm only going to use...
And you can customize permissions.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah, a lot more than you can do with B2, which is also a thing that we're going to have to be doing in the future too, for private content. I'm still using Cloudflare, but I'm only using Cloudflare for DNS at the moment.
Oh, wait. We got to talk about this, because I'm using Linode for DNS.
Yeah.
So that's a 15-minute update window. If for people who don't know, every 15 minutes if you use Linode for your DNS. First of all, let's step back. Damashe, what is DNS?
So DNS is, I don't know, domain name server.
Domain name service.
It's the internet's phone book. It's the internet's phone book.
Yep.
It translates Google.com into whatever Google's actual IP address is for you. So you don't have to know
didn't
those.
mean to throw you on the spot.
No, it's fine, man. It's fine, because actually that was a good point. I've never used Linode for DNS, but I typically, honestly, have just been using the name servers of whatever company the domain is registered with. So in a lot of cases, that was Hover. That's now becoming Namecheap, because I'm moving all of my domains over to Namecheap. Just as a side note, discounts, man, on updates. Renewals. Hover is a little up there, man. And now that Namecheap is giving you free domain privacy forever. It's not just the first year, it makes it a little bit more palatable. So I was actually chatting with a guy over at Delicious Brains about what they do at their website with caching, because I know that they were using Cloudflare, and I was like, what are you guys doing as far as configuring your cache? Because I know you talk a lot about in your blog posts about using the Nginx caching. It's like, oh no, we just use Cloudflare for domain, because they update fairly quickly. So if we need to make a change or move the server, the update is super quick. And I was like, good deal. He's like, yeah, all the settings that we use for our caching of the website come strictly from the Hosting WordPress Yourself article that he wrote. It's also the same thing that they set up when you use their new service, SpinUp WP. He's like, yeah, we're using those exact same configurations. He said the only difference in probably what you're going to want to do and what we're doing is that they're using their plugin, offload media. He's like, we're using CloudFront for the image caching. So for the asset caching in S3. He's like, everything else is, just passes straight through Cloudflare, but their DNS and I got to admit, their DNS really is good, because I just got finished moving Damashe.org from Hover over to Namecheap.
Does that mean it's actually coming back?
Oh, man, it is coming back. I'm actually going to put it up with SpinUp WP too, so I can actually start testing out how their deployments and all that stuff works.
So, speaking about deployments and DNS, we'll transition into the next topic that I have on my list of things, and it's actually the last topic to talk about today, which I need to move that Google sheet into our shared sheet so you can look at what I'm looking at. And that is starting to talk to you about getting management for your own pay. Right now, all I've got is a Linode I've got a Linode hosting or a WordPress with the Linode install. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the install
Link
script.
to
We
it
use the
over there
Linode
in the
install
show
script.
notes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And my domain name's registered with Namecheap. I have to renew that before the 13th. So thank you, Namecheap, for reminding me about that. Side note, did you see Namecheap has VPN?
I just saw the email. I didn't open it yet, though. Like, I saw it a few hours ago.
Me neither.
I was like,
I'm like,
what? Okay, I'm coming back to that one.
Yeah, we were just talking about VPN last week. Anyways, so the
Spooky.
a little, yeah, just a bit. So the domain's hosted with Namecheap. DNS is ns1, linode.com, ns2, etc. And then in Linode, I go and I have a couple of A records set up and a CNAME record, etc. to point to the server. And then the WordPress site is installed, and the only quote unquote security that I have is two-factor authentication, thanks to you with Mini Orange. And there was something else that I was going to. Oh, and I'm using right now WP3 Supercat.
What I would do in that situation, honestly, would be either.
And you have an account. I can reset your password.
Oh, yeah. I
Just so
should
you know.
see if I can.
But you do not have two-factor authentication.
Yeah, because I hadn't logged in. You actually told me to log in
Yep.
one day, too, and I don't know what happened. I forgot.
Yeah. Long time ago. So we get distracted.
Yeah, man, it happened. That's why I didn't open that email about VPN, because I went down some whole fucking rabbit hole, man. I got work to do. So there's a couple of ways to go about this, and it sort of kind of all depends on how much you want to get into using GitHub and auto deployments versus having a sort of traditional WordPress install as you have now. And there's a lot of variations along that scale. I would say the most extreme version of managing your site with Git and automation would be Trellis and the Bedrock stack. And essentially, you go in and configure your WordPress sites in a file, and you run a deployment script basically, and it sets up your server using Nginx as the web server. Drops in a whole bunch of other security stuff. Basically, you're going to get an A+ with this setup on the SSL Labs. I'm going to need to link to that in the show notes. So that is an excellent resource. If you ever want to check the security of a website, period, go to, well, the link will be in the show notes because I don't remember the link. But go to that link.
Go to yourownpay.com/DM32.
Yeah, and get the link to SSL Quality Labs SSL test.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Look for SSL Quality
Yeah,
Labs.
and so you could drop a link in there, drop a URL in there for a website, and it runs a whole bunch of tests. So it's testing your security certificate, it's testing other configurations, and it comes back with a grade. And obviously A+ is the best grade you can possibly get.
Right.
So using Trellis, you're going to get an A+ with that. First of all, they're going to use HTTPS with a Let's Encrypt certificate. They basically do all the server configuration for you, sort of like using that script from Linode.
Script from Linode.
Yeah, except they're using Nginx instead of Apache. They set up the fast CGI caching with Nginx and all that, and it's a pretty good setup.
So Trellis, which is what sets this up, is this something you set up locally on your computer?
Yeah. So what you're going to do with Trellis is you're going to, so if we were going to move your site to this, we'll walk through this process as if we were moving your own pay to this setup. Right. First thing I would do is go create a GitHub repository for yourownpay.com. There's actually one that already exists. Just nothing in it. Create the Git repo. Of course, invite Mike to the Git repo because it's his site. He should be able to see what's going on with his stuff. File kind of issue requests and all that sort of stuff. But we would drop in a Trellis folder with all the files in there, and we would drop in a site folder that would hold your actual WordPress structure files. So your .config and all that stuff that you need for WordPress to actually run. What you do is configure everything locally, and you can spin up a local machine, a local testing environment, which is what I do using Vagrant. And that is using VirtualBox to actually develop, spin up that server. So it's sort of like you have an exact copy of what your server is going to be in VirtualBox running, as exactly as how it's going to be created on an actual real server out there on the internet. Once you get ready to deploy to a live server, whether it's staging or production, you run a command to build your server. So it does all that first, and then you can deploy your sites. And you can run several sites from one Trellis installation if you want to. It's actually something I'm testing over here with something else that I'm working on. And then you're done, right? You install your plugins using Composer, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot more technical stuff that goes into it. I'm going to link to the show notes at yourownpay.com/DM32. I will link to the Trellis doc so you can, you folks can go take a look at it and kind of see more of a thorough explanation of the process. It's pretty well documented to get you started.
For me, instead of moving everything, so let me tell you my vision of what I'd like to eventually get done, especially now that you told me this about DNS with Cloudflare, is I want to eventually move everything, well, not everything, move my DNS over to Cloudflare now, which I think the first step for that would be to
create a Cloudflare account.
I think I have one. But yeah, create a Cloudflare account, and then I would go set up DNS records, I presume, in Cloudflare.
So here's the thing that I like about Cloudflare, and I've always liked it since I first tried them out with a domain a couple of years ago. You drop in your domain name, you hit add, it goes out and it scans it. So it's able to look at where your name servers are pointing to now, and it goes out and scans all of your records and it pulls them in, and you look at them and make sure it's got everything. I've never had it drop one, not ever. So you don't have to do that manual, type in everything that you got over here. It automatically pulls in everything. And like I said, in my experience, and I've moved probably 5 or 6 domains to Cloudflare at this point, for different reasons, and I've never had it lose a record at all. So once you do that, once it pulls in your records and you see them, you just go change. It tells you the name servers to actually go to your registrar and point your domain to, and then you're done at that point. Yeah. And
then you can add whatever.
Right, and then you just add whatever records you need right inside of there.
Cloudflare.
Yeah.
All right. So that is my mission. We'll tell people how that experience goes. I'll be sure to share with people next week. If you want more information about anything we mentioned, head on over to yourownpay.com/DM32. Do you have anything else you want to mention before we sign off for this episode?
No, man, that's it. I think we're going to run you out of spin up WP though. We'll do you like that.
All right. Sounds good. I'm at Payon, Payown on Twitter, and he's?
Who am I on Twitter? I don't even know anymore. I'm at Damashe.
Aren't you at Damashe?
Damashe.
You've been listening to Your Own Pay Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, visit yourownpay.com/cast for exclusive content and to contact us today. We're eager to hear your thoughts and about how you're making this podcast your own. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. The Your Own Pay Podcast, yourownpay.com.
Thank you. Arigato.
The Your Own Pay Podcast Network, inspiring, motivating, and educating entrepreneurs around the world.